4 seconds. That's reportedly roughly how long it took for a room full of phones to capture something that ended up generating more genuine conversation than the entire rest of that Canadian charity weekend combined, put together.
What do you do when your marriage is in such a good place and you're just blissfully happy? Inappropriately, this is of your Prince Harry, inappropriately lunge for a hug with another woman who has a boyfriend and was completely shocked by this right next to your said wife, who I presume was looking away.
A 31-year-old British singer reportedly walks off a stage after performing at a gala. Harry, according to multiple accounts, greets her with both arms. A full hug, warmly received, apparently genuine on both sides. He's directly quoted afterward saying he felt every word of her performance in the back of his throat. That's genuinely, honestly, the actual moment we're starting with tonight. Small enough entirely on its own, honestly, in the grand scheme of a genuinely busy charity weekend.
They live in their own world, in their own bubble, and Meghan has her truth. There are so many issues going on here.
But stack it against everything else that's reportedly surfaced across this entire summer, and it starts looking, at least to a lot of people watching closely, like part of something considerably bigger than one isolated hug. Let me actually walk you through what happened here properly, step by step, because the hug itself is really just the entry point into a considerably longer and more interesting story sitting underneath it. Quick context first, since we've covered the broader gala weekend before. Victoria, British Columbia. A prominent songwriter's 40th anniversary charity event. Harry and Meghan attended. There was a carpet moment that generated its own separate coverage. We're not revisiting that tonight. What I actually want to dig into is what happened later that same evening, and in the weeks around it.
Harry's awkward smile really said it all. It's like he's looking very unhappy. Look at that. And then he realizes, oh gosh, she is recording me again. I better smile.
The singer herself, reportedly around 10 years younger than Harry, had apparently won a televised talent competition a few years prior to this specific appearance, building a modest but genuine, steadily growing following in the years since through that specific initial platform and the exposure it provided. She reportedly performed 2 songs during her set, opened with a lighthearted joke suggesting the king had apparently sent her instead of attending the gala himself, and by most accounts got a genuine, unguarded laugh out of Harry in response.
Harry and Meghan, I think at this point, are having so many problems behind the scenes, Dan, that this is why you see all this chaos on the front end here in the media, because there's so much happening that we don't see. And this is why it looks chaotic. Does it make sense?
The specific kind of laugh that, according to several observers watching the footage afterward, he apparently hadn't been seen giving very much of in recent public appearances leading up to that particular evening. Then came the actual hug itself. And here's where things get genuinely more interesting than a simple friendly gesture, because the singer's own account of the moment, posted afterward in her own words, is arguably more revealing than anything a commentator could add on top of it. She reportedly described it as unexpected, that he simply went in for the embrace, and her reaction was essentially, why not?
Inappropriate, someone who claims to be a member of the British royal family. It's certainly not something you would see most royals do.
You definitely would not, Dan. And it came across as very odd. I feel you in the back of my throat. I maybe that's a British thing. I'm not quite sure what Harry is trying to get across there. Perspective comes across as very odd, going in and lunging for a hug and a cuddle, as she describes it. Again, shows Harry kind of desperately trying to figure out, I think, what this post-royal life means, because they're desperately trying to be royal.
The very next morning, she reportedly posted a genuine thank you message to her own followers. She called the whole encounter a pinch me moment. She described him as genuinely one of the loveliest, most genuine people she'd ever personally encountered in her career so far, and then tagged the account at Sussex Royal, an account that, according to multiple reports, hasn't posted anything in roughly 6 years. Not Harry's current account, not Meghan's. A dormant handle from an earlier chapter entirely. Meghan reportedly wasn't mentioned anywhere in that specific post at all. Not tagged directly, not referenced by name, not thanked alongside Harry in the way you'd fairly typically expect from a message describing a moment connected to a couple's joint appearance at any shared event, charity or otherwise. It's genuinely worth pausing here to think about how ordinary social media tagging mistakes actually happen, before jumping to any conclusion. Public figures change handles constantly. Old accounts stay searchable for years after they've gone quiet. Someone excited after a big night typing quickly on their phone, reaching for whatever result pops up first in a search bar. That's a genuinely common way these small errors happen, completely unrelated to anything deeper going on beneath the surface.
As Princess Carparkle put it, Meghan Markle directing David Foster and Catherine McPhee at his own gala, then cackling away. She loves the attention from the camera and red carpet. She does that whole over-emoting, that crazy husband of mine laugh. It's too much and phony AF. Han said how cute Meghan was spotted doing her favourite thing, directing people where to stand on the red carpet at David Foster's Foundation's event.
Now, before reading too much into that specific detail regardless, it's genuinely worth considering the more mundane explanation available here. Someone unfamiliar with the current social media landscape simply defaulting to whichever account showed up first in a search without any deeper meaning attached. That happens constantly with public figures whose branding has shifted over the years. It's a genuinely plausible, boring explanation. What makes people skeptical of the boring explanation, though, is what Meghan reportedly posted from that same weekend. According to accounts of her own social media activity, she covered the auction, the pipers, her outfit, the flowers, a fairly comprehensive documentation of the event.
Meghan was completely blanked by David Foster when she reached out her hand at the photo call. We also had the usual creepy body language of Meghan telling people where to stand and how to pose for photographs. So Harry and Meghan were at this event because they've got nothing else to do. They've got no jobs or anything. There's no money coming in, sadly. I say that with no pleasure at all. They are in big financial trouble. And that's one of the reasons why the marriage is crumbling.
Not one post reportedly referenced the singer's performance at all. Two women at the same event, according to this reading, apparently not acknowledging each other publicly for the better part of 2 days. Could genuinely be coincidence. Could honestly be nothing at all. Busy weekends produce inconsistent posting schedules for everyone, famous or not, and reading too much into any single gap in someone's content calendar risks manufacturing significance where none actually exists. But it's genuinely the kind of gap that tends to get noticed and remembered once people are already primed to look for a broader pattern, fair or not.
See, Sidley reminded us before this moment even happened, Meghan had to stop walking, tell her assistant to pull out her phone and start recording. That's why Harry is so far ahead of her. Imagine living your life having to set up and record every moment just to feel validated, including your engagement.
If you're finding this interesting so far, the like button genuinely helps this channel keep digging into stories like this one. Now, here's where I genuinely want to rewind about 4 full weeks. Because there's an earlier moment that a lot of coverage has since connected directly back to what apparently happened at that Canadian gala, even though the two events initially seemed like completely separate stories. July 10th, the National Exhibition Centre in Birmingham, the 1-year-to-go milestone event for the next Invictus Games. Meghan was reportedly expected to attend and pulled out, with security cited as the reason. Harry did the appearance solo. According to multiple accounts of that morning, a television presenter interviewing him got an unusually animated reaction. He reportedly grabbed hold of her at one point, and the two of them were, by several descriptions, laughing and swaying together on live television. He reportedly told her she was very excitable, that he loved that about her, that everybody did. He reportedly called himself one of her secret admirers, unprompted, and mentioned his children enjoy watching her on a cooking program. He also reportedly gave a speech that morning, made a joke about aging and hair loss that landed well with the room, and later raced the presenter through a laser tag course, reportedly losing without much apparent frustration about it.
Their star is definitely on the decline in the entertainment industry. Things are just not moving and shaking as they used to be. And the couple, I think, is definitely feeling the stress of that, particularly Meghan, who has, I think, dreamed for years and years of being this mover and shaker in the entertainment industry, and has been kind of shocked to see herself fall from grace so incredibly hard. I think it's been quite difficult for her to try to figure this out. And of course, the main culprit is the lack of talent for the both of them.
For roughly 90 minutes straight, according to multiple people who watched that entire segment live, it apparently read as someone genuinely, unmistakably enjoying himself, in a way that reportedly felt notably different from a lot of his more recent, more guarded public appearances over the preceding months. Here's the detail that actually caught my attention, though. Royal biographer Angela Levin, who spent considerable time covering Harry specifically, reportedly watched that same Friday morning segment and posted her reaction the same day, not weeks later, not with hindsight attached. Her reported observation: Harry always seems much happier when Meghan isn't around. That's genuinely a fairly pointed thing for someone carrying her specific level of access and established credibility within royal reporting to say publicly in real time.
And there's just so much going on. I think Harry is in a position now. He has to. I know I always go back, but I don't understand why we can't see that the problem is Meghan and what she is doing to Harry.
On the exact same day the footage aired, rather than waiting weeks and offering the same observation with the comfortable benefit of hindsight already attached to it. Worth being fair here, though. This is one biographer's interpretation of a single television appearance, not a comprehensive psychological assessment. People can have an unusually good day for all kinds of reasons that have nothing to do with who else is or isn't present. It's genuinely worth naming, too, that men who appear more relaxed in one specific setting versus another isn't inherently proof of anything about a marriage. People behave differently across different environments constantly, for reasons that have nothing to do with who else is present. Professional context, the specific audience, the nature of the activity itself. A solo public appearance built around genuine enthusiasm for a cause versus a formal charity gala requiring different social choreography entirely are simply different situations that would naturally produce different energy from almost anyone.
Lunging at Sydney Christmas. There was no Sydney Christmas reference whatsoever on Meghan Markle's Instagram, and that doesn't surprise me because it was highly inappropriate. I thought of Prince Harry.
Still, when you place that particular Birmingham morning directly next to the singer hug from a few weeks later, a real pattern does start to emerge across the surrounding commentary, at least. Two separate moments of apparent, unguarded warmth, both of them reportedly occurring specifically during stretches when Meghan wasn't present. Now, let's get to the ring specifically. This is genuinely the single detail out of everything tonight that I think deserves the most careful, methodical examination. Because unlike a lot of the softer, more interpretive commentary we've covered so far, this particular thread actually has real specific dates attached to it that can be checked against each other.
Harry has given his royal seal of approval to 2024 Britain's Got Talent winner Sydney Christmas. He told Sid, quote, he felt every word in the back of his throat after she performed Tomorrow from Anne and Frank Sinatra's My Way in front of him at David Foster's charity gala in Canada over the weekend.
According to multiple reports tracking Meghan's public appearances, her engagement ring, the one Harry designed himself, featuring diamonds reportedly taken from his mother's own collection, hasn't been photographed on her hand since sometime around February. A charity dinner in Los Angeles in March, reportedly no ring. Geneva in May, reportedly no ring. A trip to Australia, reportedly no ring. Her own film's premiere at the end of July. Reportedly the wedding band was present, but not the engagement ring itself. That's potentially close to 6 full months, if the underlying reporting actually holds up under scrutiny, which is genuinely a long stretch of time for a piece of jewelry carrying this much specific symbolic weight to simply be absent, repeatedly, across multiple separate public appearances, without any accompanying explanation offered.
Speaking from Canada, Sid told me, when I was on stage, I joked about meeting his dad before adding, sorry he couldn't make it, he sent me instead. Oh my God, I say such silly things when I'm nervous, but Harry started laughing. Here's where it gets weird. Got down off stage, he just came forward and gave me a big, and he went, Sydney, I felt every word, I really felt that. Revealing how the fifth in line to the throne ditched royal protocol, Sydney continued, he just went in for the hug. And I was like, why not?
Genuinely worth being fair here too, because there are entirely mundane, boring explanations readily available that would explain the exact same pattern. Rings get resized as fingers change slightly over time. They get sent away for professional cleaning or minor repair work, sometimes for extended periods. Public figures also sometimes deliberately simplify their jewelry choices for specific events or seasons without any larger meaning attached whatsoever, purely as a stylistic preference. None of those explanations are remotely suspicious on their own, and any one of them could genuinely account for everything we've just described. What's driving the more skeptical reading is reportedly the specific timing, that the ring's absence coincided with a moment at the actual gala carpet when cameras were pointed directly at her hands, and she was reportedly seen looking down before placing both hands behind her back. That specific detail, if accurate, is the kind of thing that shifts a simple jewelry explanation towards something people read as more deliberate.
Meghan was completely left out of the singer's post. with the inactive Sussex royal tagged in her place rather than any of Meghan's own accounts. So this extremely experienced has deliberately snubbed Meghan and sent out a clear message, which is, get out of the way, sister. Get out of the way, because I am coming for your man.
A body language analyst who reportedly reviewed footage from that same carpet moment offered a considerably more pointed read on the broader physical dynamic between the two of them. According to that analysis, Meghan was reportedly observed pressing close to Harry at one point, hand placed flat against his chest, described by the analyst as a gesture suggesting ownership or claiming, rather than mutual affection. Harry's own physical response, according to that same analysis, was reportedly more restrained, described as lighter, less reciprocal contact, along with an expression the analyst characterized as closer to a composed photo pose than genuine warmth. I genuinely want to be careful here though, because body language analysis of this specific kind is inherently interpretive rather than anything resembling hard scientific measurement. Regardless of how confidently any individual analyst presents their particular reading, different analysts can look at the exact same footage and reach different conclusions.
Was a very telling moment, which makes it quite clear things are not good in this marriage.
Honestly, your kids and Meghan must be so proud of you. Do they tell you every day?
They tell me every day that they're proud of me.
She's not proud of you, she's using you, but she's not proud of you. It's almost so tragic that he can't see it. But then he has obviously made a decision to not acknowledge anything, to not try and apologize, to not try and win back public support.
And it's worth treating any single reading as one perspective rather than settled fact about two people's actual internal emotional state. That said, this specific interpretation has circulated widely enough and lines up closely enough with the other threads we've covered tonight that it's worth including as part of the broader picture rather than dismissing outright. Now, genuinely, all of this specific evidence sits inside a considerably larger public conversation that's reportedly been steadily building since earlier this same summer, well before the Canadian Gala or the singer's thank you post ever entered the picture. Royal biographer Lady Colin Campbell, someone with decades of experience covering this specific family, reportedly stated publicly in July that she believed this marriage was in genuine trouble. According to reports, the response from the Sussex side came through a magazine, citing an anonymous source describing the couple as remaining a united front. Lady Colin Campbell reportedly didn't back down and has separately noted that her assessment of the situation predates this recent speculation by some time. She's reportedly previously suggested Harry would be well advised to reconsider his current path, back when that view was considerably less common. Once that specific conversation genuinely opened up in public, other voices with their own established credibility in this space reportedly followed suit fairly quickly, one after another, in the weeks that followed her initial comments. A senior royal correspondent working at one major UK paper reportedly quoted a source described as close to Harry personally, describing him as someone who never truly wanted to be estranged from his own family in the first place, but who reportedly loved Meghan enough at the time to choose that specific path regardless. With the source further adding, according to this report, that things have apparently been noticeably shifting between them more recently, without going into further specifics about what exactly that shift might involve. A separate panel of royal commentators discussing this exact situation back in July reportedly landed, independently of one another and apparently without much prior coordination, on genuinely similar language across the board, describing the couple as effectively leading largely separate lives at this point, with noticeably limited recent public appearances together compared to previous years, and according to at least one specific account from that discussion, a reported preference from at least one side of the marriage not to be closely publicly associated with the other right now, whatever that might actually mean in practice. One broadcaster covering the wider reaction to that Canadian Gala reportedly went considerably further still in his own commentary, describing the singer's thank you post as sending what he characterized as an unmistakable signal, and separately characterizing Harry's overall role within the relationship's public presentation as something closer to trailing alongside Meghan in most joint appearances, rather than functioning as a fully equal partner in how the couple's shared public image actually gets constructed and maintained day to day. According to that specific framing, Harry functions publicly less as an individual and more as an asset attached to a shared brand, which, if that reading holds any weight, would make a moment like the singer hug considerably more consequential than a simple friendly gesture, because it involves the one asset reportedly not fully under anyone's control. I genuinely want to flag directly that this specific framing, treating a spouse as an asset attached to a shared public brand, is uncomfortable language regardless of who it's actually applied to. And it's worth treating that specific characterization with real, healthy skepticism, rather than simply repeating it uncritically just because it's shown up repeatedly in recent commentary. Reducing any real marriage, whatever its private struggles might actually be, to purely commercial terms, flattens something genuinely human into something considerably colder and more cynical than the actual situation likely deserves. Genuinely worth stepping all the way back at this specific point and being fully honest about the overall picture we've actually built across everything tonight, rather than letting individual dramatic details carry more weight than the full context actually supports. None of what we've covered tonight constitutes confirmed proof that this marriage is ending. A hug shared at a charity gala, a documented months-long gap in wearing a specific piece of jewelry, one biographer's real-time public reaction to a single television appearance, body language analysis coming from a single source, interpreting one specific moment, and a handful of separate commentators working independently of one another, reaching broadly similar conclusions around the same general period. That's genuinely a notable cluster of separate, individually modest signals, all reportedly pointing in a broadly similar direction at roughly the same time. It's genuinely not the same thing as direct confirmation from either Harry or Meghan themselves, in their own words, on the record, which, as of right now, simply hasn't happened and may never happen, given how carefully both of them have historically managed exactly this kind of personal disclosure throughout their entire relationship. What's genuinely changed here, according to several of the specific people actively covering this story right now, isn't necessarily brand new evidence suddenly appearing overnight out of nowhere. It's reportedly that people with genuine, established professional reputations actually at stake have apparently become considerably more willing to say this kind of thing publicly and on the record, rather than treating it as something too professionally risky to voice out loud, the way it might have been treated even a year or two earlier. For whatever it's genuinely worth as a data point, back in December 2024, a full 8 months or so before any of what we've just covered tonight, Harry reportedly addressed divorce speculation directly himself, unprompted, joking on stage that the two of them had apparently already divorced somewhere between 10 and 12 separate times according to the ongoing rumor mill, and reportedly getting a genuine comfortable laugh from the room in the process of delivering that specific joke. At the time, that specific joke reportedly landed as confident, easy, dismissive humor, the kind of comfortable deflection that suggests genuine security rather than anything defensive underneath it. Whether that exact same joke would land the same way if delivered again today, given absolutely everything that's reportedly surfaced across this particular summer since, is genuinely an open question worth sitting with. Humor about a marriage's stability tends to work best when the underlying reality actually backs it up. And whether that's still true here is precisely the question everyone's now apparently asking. What do you genuinely think? Does this specific cluster of details we've walked through tonight, the hug, the 6-month ring absence, the biographer's real-time reaction, the body language analysis, actually add up to something genuinely meaningful when you look at the full picture together? Or is this a case of individually fairly ordinary moments getting stitched together retroactively into a narrative that goes considerably further than the actual underlying evidence honestly supports on its own? And separately, on that specific ring detail, do you genuinely read that as a real, deliberate signal being sent in the way some commentators have suggested? Or are we all collectively reading way too much into what could very easily just be an entirely mundane jewelry maintenance issue that's being wildly, unfairly overinterpreted by people already primed to expect the worst? Let me know your genuinely honest take on all of this down in the comments below. I read every single one, and they genuinely help shape which stories we decide to dig into next on this channel going forward. And if breakdowns like this one, the kind that actually try to hold both the dramatic reading and the more skeptical, mundane reading in view at the same time, rather than just committing to whichever version generates more clicks, are genuinely what you come here for. Go ahead and subscribe to Palace Insider so you don't miss the next one whenever it drops. A like genuinely helps too, more than you'd probably think for a channel still building its audience. If tonight's story kept you watching all the way through to this exact point, that's honestly the easiest way to show it.